Hello everybody, welcome back to American Textbook Reading. We're going over Lesson 5 in the book. We're talking about body parts of animals. So this is an exciting lesson, right? If you like animals, and everybody likes animals, right? This will be a very interesting lesson because in this lesson you will discover animals have different kinds of bodies and skins. We can see many different animals. They all have different abilities. They can all do different kinds of things. Different animals, of course, have different body parts and different types of skin to allow them to do amazing things. So, in this lesson, in the first part, we're going to be looking at the vocabulary to describe these different parts of the animal's bodies and skin, and also some other words that help us learn what they can do with those different types of bodies and skins. So let's begin. Our first word that we're going to be talking about, wow, look at this. This is a very proud animal, right? This, of course, is a chicken, right? A type of chicken. It's a male chicken, so we say it's a rooster, right? But on chickens, on birds, what is the skin? Do they have hair? No, they have these interesting looking things that we call feathers. Feathers. Sometimes you can pluck a feather out. A long time ago, they used feathers to write with, right? They took out a feather, put it in ink, and that was your pen, right? So that's a long time ago. Thankfully, we don't use those anymore, but because the birds need them, right? The birds need feathers, of course. So the birds have feathers. A feather is one of the many soft, thin parts that cover a bird's body, Birds don't have hair, right? We have hair, but birds have feathers, and that keeps them warm. It also makes them look different ways for different purposes. Of course, different birds might have very beautiful feathers, like a peacock, to attract, a male peacock wants to attract female peacocks, so wow, look at me. Sometimes birds will have feathers that expand if they're afraid or they're trying to warn other birds away, right? The feathers will make them look bigger. And of course, feathers keep birds warm and dry when it's wet. Okay, so these are feathers, a unique part of a bird. Also a unique part of a bird is a wing. The only animals that have wings, of course, are birds. And this is a nice picture of an owl, right? And of course, we can see his wing stretching out here and all the feathers on the wing. And of course, the feathers are very light and they spread out. And they also help the bird, in this case, the owl, to fly along. So, a wing is the part of a bird that helps it fly. Birds have two wings, right? If you think about it, birds don't have arms, right? They have wings instead. Their arms are actually wings, and they use them. Birds also have 2 feet, so birds have the right amount of limbs, but their arms are wings. Imagine if you had wings for arms, right? You could be able to fly. That would be neat. Anyway, this is what birds have. Birds have wings. These wings allow the bird to fly. Let's move on. We're also talking about birds again. A unique part about birds, birds have a beak. We don't have beaks, thank goodness, because that would be very difficult to kiss your mom, right? And when you go to bed at night. So that would be very, very tough. But anyway, a beak is, it's not a bone, it's like a shell, really. It's like a hard part of the bird. And what does it do? It's a hard and pointed part of a bird's mouth. Now, different birds will have different shapes and different sizes of beaks, right? A bird uses its beak to find food in the ground. Sure, some birds do that, right? This bird has a long beak, so it can stick its mouth into the ground to find an insect, maybe a worm, and pull it out. Some birds have long beaks so that they can drill a hole in a tree. A woodpecker, tuck, 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 right? He hits the tree, he's looking for insects. Maybe he can also find food inside of the tree. Now, the owl doesn't have a really long beak, but the owl has a sharp beak for being able to catch like mice or small animals on the ground. Okay, so different birds have different sizes and different shapes to their beaks, and they use them for many different things. Okay, so let's move on. Now we're getting away from birds. We're looking at a different type of animal. This is, of course, a mammal. More specifically, it's a sheep. And we're looking at specifically this part of the sheep. This is fur. Now, of course, fur on a sheep is very important for human beings. We use that fur, right? The sheep farmers will shave the sheep. Poor sheep, they'll look, they don't have any fur on afterwards. But we use that fur to make wool coats. So we may use it to make warm sweaters or use it in coats, in our clothing. Fur is the soft, thick hair that grows on the body of mammals. Fur keeps an animal warm, right? Fur doesn't grow on all animals or mammals, right? We are mammals. We don't have fur, right? We have hair. We have hair. We don't call that fur, right? We just call that hair. But many mammals have fur. When the hair covers their whole body, then we call that fur, okay? So this is fur for mammals. Okay, all animals, our next word is lung. All animals have lungs, right? Lungs are very important to an animal. If it doesn't have a lung, it can't breathe. We cannot see the lung, right? The lung is in the inside of the body. It's inside the body. We can't see it. But what is a lung? A lung is an organ. Organs are inside the body, usually in the torso, right? In the upper part of the body for mammals. We have many organs in our body. We can't see them, they're inside. A lung is an organ that helps some animals breathe. So if you do that, if you breathe in and out, you're using your lungs. And most animals, all animals have lungs, okay? So let's take a look at the next one, gill. Now, a gill is something that a fish will use to breathe underwater, right? We have lungs, right? We can breathe the air because we're not in water. But fish do not live outside of water. They live in water. How can they breathe in the water? Well, of course, the water has oxygen in it. So fish will be able to get that oxygen using their gills on the side of their heads. If you look at a fish, you can see the gills going like this, and they're breathing that way. A gill is one of the openings on the side of a fish's head, right over here. Gills help a fish breathe underwater. So you see the fish moving around in your aquarium, in your fish tank, or if you go to see, if you see them on television, or if you go diving, snorkeling in the water, you can see fish breathing underwater. Pretty amazing. Okay, let's move on to the next part. Skin. We all have skin, right? We have soft skin, right? An alligator has hard, thick, tough skin. Skin is the layer of tissue that covers the body. So it's actually the largest tissue on most animals. It's the largest tissue. Do you know that your skin is usually dead cells? It's cells of your body that are dead. Ugh, think about that. We're carrying around a lot of dead cells on our skin, but that's what skin is. Now, skin is different for many different types of animals. Like I said, an alligator or a crocodile will have tough, thick skin. Usually people have soft, smooth skin, right? So different skins for different types of animals, depending on, what they're doing. Alligators live out in the wild. They live in rivers. They live in places where they need a thick, tough skin. We don't need a thick, tough skin. If we need to, we can just wear clothing over our skin. Now, let's talk about some other words associated with different body types. Smooth, right? What does smooth mean? Smooth means flat. So if something is smooth, it's flat, without any rough areas. I just said human beings have soft, smooth skin, right? Alligators don't have smooth skin. It's rough. It's got a lot of bumps on it. It's not flat, and it's not easy or nice to touch. It's rough, okay? If you look at your dog, if you have a dog, you know, you can pet your dog. The dog's fur is very smooth. It's very nice and soft. It's pretty flat, and you can run your hand along it. You wouldn't want to run your hand along an alligator because it's very bumpy. It's not smooth. So smooth, flat, without any rough areas. Okay. Now hair. Now we have a picture of a dog here. Sure, a dog, we can call this fur. A dog has fur, but fur is made of hair, a lot of hair. Now remember, humans don't have fur. Don't say, when you're talking about a person, don't say that that person has a lot of fur. If they have hair on their arms, that's just hair on their arms. Don't call it fur. Only animals have fur. So this dog has a lot of hair. We can call it fur, but we can also call it hair. In fact, he has so much hair, we can't even see his eyes, right? He's very cute though, cute dog. Hair. Hair is thin, fine parts on the skin of a person or an animal. So yes, we have hair, dogs, animals have hair, but only animals have fur. People do not have fur, okay? Let's move on. Feed. So feed, what does that mean? Feed. Feed means to give food to a person or an animal. However, true, you can feed a person, but feed is usually associated with animals, right? When animals feed, and that's what's going on here. This is an interesting picture. This is mama cat, right? And many baby kittens. What are the baby kittens doing? Are they tickling mom? They're tickling her? No, they're getting milk from mom. So mom is giving her babies milk. The kittens are feeding right now. So mom looks like she's protecting her babies, right? She's giving them some milk. So feed means to give food to a person or animal. Actually, we have a good video. We have a nice video of a cat. Here's mama cat, and here's one of her babies. Look at this baby's feet are splayed out like that. That's pretty cute. Let's see at the video. As you can see, mom is just sitting there, and the little baby kitten is taking the milk. Well, it's a very nice mom, right? She's licking her baby, making sure that she's comfortable and she's getting enough food to grow into a big cat. Okay, so that's an example of to feed. Okay, now let's review some of the words that we've learned already. We have a really good chart here to look at. Over here on this side, we can see the parts of animals, the parts of animals. These are the names of the parts. Over here in the middle, we have pictures of these parts. And then over here, we have a short explanation of what these parts do. So what do these parts do to help the animals? Let's go over this chart in detail. First of all, remember we talked about gills. Gills are on a fish, right? Gills are on the outside of the fish's head. We can see the gills, and the gills are right here. Water passes through those gills, and the fish takes oxygen from the water because gills and lungs help animals breathe. So gills help fish breathe. Fish don't have lungs. Ugh, here are lungs. That looks kind of yucky, right? Because you can see gills on a fish, but you can't see lungs in an animal. We have lungs, and you can't see them because they're inside our body. If you see lungs, then they're taken out of the body. Ugh, right? Okay, but anyway, lungs are what most animals, well, animals have lungs, right? And that helps them breathe. So we breathe air in, it goes to our lungs, and our lungs take the oxygen and puts it into our blood, and that's how we get oxygen in our body. So animals will have lungs, fish will have gills. Both of these things help animals breathe. Okay, the next one down, these are things that help animals move and get away from danger. What are they? First, we have fins. Fins, of course, are on fish, or as we can see here, a shark. We see a picture of a shark. There's a fin here, and a fin here. There's 3 fins we can easily see in this picture. Also, here's part of a fin on this fish. Now, sometimes the fins will move. The fish can move the fins, right? And they can move them like this to move forward. They can move their fins to move backward. If you ever go swimming or snorkeling in the tropical island, you can see many fish on the coral reef, and you can see really amazing the way that they can move with their fins. Some fins don't move, like a shark. This fin doesn't move. It moves its tail, and that makes it move through the water. But if a shark didn't have fins, it couldn't keep its balance. Maybe it would start turning like this or swimming upside down, right? So fins help a fish or shark move through the water. Legs. Animals have legs, right? Like a dog, people, rabbits. Mammals have legs that help them move. We walk on our legs. We only have 2 legs. We have good balance. We can just walk on 2 legs. Of course, dogs have 4 legs. All other animals have 4 legs, so they can move, and they can move quicker than human beings can. But legs help animals move and get away from danger also. And also, what do birds use? Birds have legs, sure, but they don't use their legs a lot. They use their wings much more. And this is a picture of an owl, and look at how big his wing is. Owls and birds need big wings so that they can get their bodies into the air and fly. And of course, animals use these different body parts. These different body parts are parts of animals to help them move and get away from danger. Because as you know, the animal world is a struggle for survival. Some animals chase other animals to eat them. Those animals have to run away from the animal that's trying to eat them. So of course they need these different parts to get away from danger, but also to get food, okay, and to travel around. So these different parts of animals help animals move and get away from danger. Okay, next one, we have some very interesting body parts here. Here are eyes, ears, and nose, okay? And these animal parts are on the heads of animals. They're on the heads of animals, right? Here we have normal kipchi, right? This little lemur right here. Look at that. He's kind of smiling, right? He's very cute. Anyway, of course, he's got very big eyes, right? He's got big eyes. Human beings have big eyes, right? We use our eyes to see. We use our eyes, ears, and nose to help animals sense any danger. Most animals, of course, like I said before, are worried about running away from another animal that's trying to eat them. So they can use these senses to sense. Sense means know, right? If a rabbit is in the woods and a wolf is coming along, maybe that rabbit will hear it or smell it, maybe see it, and it will know there's a wolf nearby, I have to run away. Of course, these body parts also help animals find food, but in the chart it says sense any danger, and that's what we're looking at here. So eyes will help them to see, ears will help them to hear. Of course, the rabbit, we always think of the rabbit when we hear of ears because rabbits have very big ears. And the nose, one nose, of course, per animal. So eyes, 2 eyes, ears, 2 ears, nose, 1 nose, okay? Of course, animals use their nose much more than people do. The animal's nose is very, very strong, very sensitive. A rabbit can smell a human being walking through the woods, but can we smell the rabbit? No, okay? Of course, if I'm walking through the woods and there's a bear, that bear can smell me. Oh yeah, really? Okay? He can smell me a lot quicker than he can see me because animals' noses are very developed. We use our noses, maybe if somebody farted, right? Pangu, right? We smell, and then we use our legs to run away. I'm just kidding, okay? But we don't use our noses as much as animals do. Human beings use their eyes and ears a lot more than animals do. Animals' noses are very strong, much stronger than human beings. That's interesting about animals. Okay, let's continue. We have two more body parts to talk about. One part is a beak. Do we find beaks on all animals? No, beaks are only on birds, right? That helps birds eat food and carry things. So a beak is like a mouth, right, for a bird, right? It's a very long mouth, but it also has their nose as part of the beak. So it's an interesting body part for birds, okay? But you only find a beak on birds. Dogs don't have beaks. People don't have beaks, right? Bears don't have beaks. Only birds have beaks. Of course, it helps them eat food. One bird, the woodpecker, uses its beak, tuck, 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 on a tree, namu, right? And it will make a hole, and it will get food out of the tree using its beak. And also birds carry things in their beak, right? They don't have hands, so they use their beak to carry things. Next one down is fur. Remember, fur is what we use to describe the hair on animals. Don't use it to describe the hair on people, okay? Fur is for animals. This is a picture of a squirrel. We can see the squirrel has fur all over its body. If you have a puppy dog, right, it has fur all over its body. What does fur do? It's like a coat. It keeps animals warm, keeps them warm, to keep them warm. Because, of course, animals don't have clothes. They can't say, oh, it's cold out, I'm going to put on a coat. They can't do that. They have fur, and they grow more fur in the winter because it's cold, and in when the spring and summer comes, they shed a lot of hair, right? So their fur grows and gets smaller depending on the season. Different animals will have thicker fur or thinner fur depending on the season. It keeps them warm. Okay, those are the body parts of animals. Let's move on now to the next slide. Let's go on to the exercise. What we want to do here is we want to match each word to its definition. So we've just talked about a lot of different words. We've learned some good vocabulary to talk about animal parts and also what those animal parts do. Let's review here with some words. Our words are fur, lung, gill, wing, feather, and beak. Okay? These are all different parts of animals' bodies. Let's take a look at the questions here. The first one is, one of the openings on the side of a fish's head. So this is a definition. What is it a definition for? First of all, we see fish, it's on a fish. So does a fish have fur? No. Does a fish have lungs? Well, a fish has a special kind of organ that it uses to breathe, and that is a gill, right? So one of the openings that we talked about on the side of the fish's head is a gill. Okay, so that is the type of the opening on the side of the fish's head. It helps them breathe underwater, the gills. Okay, number two, the definition. The part of a bird that helps it fly. So we talked about that. That's pretty easy, right? Instead of arms, a bird has what? A bird has two wings. This is singular. One wing, it has one wing and two wings. Okay, so the part of a bird that helps it fly is a wing. And of course, all birds have two wings. Okay, just like we have two arms. Number three, the definition. A hard and pointed part of a bird's mouth. It is hard and it is pointed. Two things. Hard, so it's not soft, right? It's very hard, and it needs to be hard to hit a tree or to go into the ground. And it's pointed, means it's long and sharp, sometimes on the end. Okay? What, of course, is that part of the bird's mouth? That, of course, is a beak. Okay? So birds have beaks. We don't have beaks, thank goodness. It would be very difficult sometimes to kiss the people that you love before you go to bed, right? So you wouldn't want to do that. And also birds need beaks to do specific things. Okay, let's move on. We've got three more definitions to go over with our words from the previous slide. Definition number 4. One of the many soft, thin parts that cover a bird's body. So before we were talking about hair and fur on many animals, right? But birds don't have hair. You won't find hair growing on a bird. You won't find fur on a bird. Instead, birds have a special thing we talked about that cover their body and keep them warm, also helps them to fly. So what of these words do you think it is? If you chose feather, you're correct, because feathers cover a bird's body, keeps them warm. It also helps them fly because feathers are very wide, right? And it helps catch the air under their wings. Okay, so those are feathers. Number 5, an organ. Remember, an organ is inside the body. The organ is inside the body. We cannot see the organ. The organ that helps some animals breathe. What am I using when I breathe? I am using my lungs. We all have 2 lungs. Animals have 2 lungs, right? 1, 2. So when we talk about singular, it's 1 lung, one side, either side, but we usually say lungs, right? We have 2 lungs, right? 1 lung, 2 lungs. Okay, it is an organ that helps some animals breathe, the lung or the lungs. Okay. 6, the soft, thick hair that grows on the body of mammals. Okay? Now remember, we're mammals too. Human beings are mammals, but we don't have this. Only animals have this. Remember what it is? If you guessed fur, you are correct. Fur. Animals have fur. Lots of hair that covers their whole body. That is called fur. We don't have fur, we just have hair on the top of our head, right? We don't call this fur. So don't say that human beings have fur. Animals have fur. Okay, let's move on to this different type of exercise here. We have a good chart here. The chart's title is How Animals Move. So on this chart, we can see a picture of the different types of animals. We can see the body part here in the bold, and we can see on the bottom, we can see those words that describe, these are verbs, they describe what the animal uses that body part to do. So we have animal, body part, and use, right? What does the animal use that body part to do? First picture is of a bird, right? Looks like a hummingbird that will use its beak to get juice or nectar from the flower. But the word here is wing, right? So birds use their wings to fly. We can make a sentence using this chart. Birds use their wings to fly. So birds use their wings to fly. In the second picture, we have a fish. Now we have the body parts, fin and tail. We didn't talk about tail before, but of course the tail is right here on a fish, right? So the fish uses the tail. And the tail, of course, on a fish usually goes like this, right? And that helps the fish to swim through the water. Of course, it has fins too. The fins are here and here. These fins can move, right, to help, change direction. And these fins also help change the direction of the fish where that fish wants to go in the water. So our sentence, fish use fins and a tail to swim. Fish use fins and a tail to swim. Okay, so that's our sentence. Wow, look at this. Do you know what kind of animal this is? This, of course, is a cheetah. A cheetah. Do you know what's special about a cheetah? A cheetah, of course, is the fastest land mammal on Earth. Cheetahs can run really fast, right? They're amazing cats. So we have the cheetah, we have a leg, walk, run, or hop. Okay, well we know walk, right? That's just walking. Run, I told you cheetahs run really fast. Hop, what's hop? Hop would be like, like this, moving forward. What hops? What animal comes to mind for hop? If you guessed rabbit, that's absolutely correct. Rabbit, and also a famous animal in Australia, kangaroo, right? They don't walk, right? You don't see a kangaroo walking. You see a kangaroo bouncing, right? Very special, very interesting, very amazing creature. They can really hop very far. It's like a jump. Hop is like a small jump, but bunny rabbits hop. You could also say kangaroos hop because they do it a lot. Okay, so our sentence would be cheetahs use their legs to run, or animals use their legs to walk, run, or hop. If we're going to say all animals, because lots of different animals do different things. Of course, cheetahs don't hop, right? They run, and they run really fast, don't they? So cheetahs are very quick animals. Let's take a look at a video of an animal moving in its environment. Which animal will it be? Well, let's take a look. It will be a fish, right? So let's take a look at the fish, how it uses its tail and its fins to move through the water. Let's take a look. Here we have the fish, and it looks like a very beautiful scene. Oh, there's another fish down here. He says, I don't like you being in here. So, but see, they're moving around, and this fish will kind of stay in this area. There's another fish over there. And this is a very beautiful coral reef. And these are the types of fish that you will see on a coral reef. But as you can see, the fish will use their fins. This guy's very active, isn't he? This guy's just kind of sitting there. But fish will use their tails and their fins to move around. Okay. Okay, let's take a look at maybe a little bit of a review here. We have choose the correct answer. Okay. What we have here are two pictures, and there's a circle around the body part that we need to look at the body part and figure out what are these body parts used for. We just talked about that before, so we're kind of having a little bit of a review. So what are these body parts used for on these animals? Number one, they are both for, and when we say both, we're talking about this part and this part, right? Fish have gills, animals have lungs. What are they both for? What do we use them? They are both for breathing, right? So we have breathing. Fish use their gills to breathe. Animals use our lungs to breathe, but they are both used for breathing. Okay? What's the next one? Okay, breathing. The next one, we're talking about, this is a little bit more difficult because there's no circle, but if you look at the pictures, what are they focusing on? These both things. Think about an owl. When you look at this picture of an owl, what is the thing that you see right away, very quickly? You see an owl's eyes, right? Owls are very known for their really big eyes, right? And they can be a little bit scary sometimes too. But eyes, right? And over here we see the close-up. This looks like the muzzle. I think it's a bear. I don't think it's a dog. It's a bear. But look at that. Look at that nose. Big ugly nose, right? It's probably wet too. But anyway, that bear is, right? He's smelling something. So what are these organs on an animal used for? We talked about this before, right? They are part of the senses. They are used for sensing things. They are used for finding out or trying to figure out what is around me. When you use your eyes, your ears, your nose, you're trying to find out what's around you. You are sensing something, okay? So these are both used for sensing, okay? Okay, let's go over some true and false questions, okay? We have to look at these sentences, figure out if they're true. If they're true, we will circle true. If they're false, we'll circle false. Let's look at each in turn. Number one, a mammal has scales on its body. A mammal has scales on its body. Remember in the last lesson, we talked about what kind of skin an animal has. Mammals have hair, or more often, if it's an animal, we say fur. What has scales? Reptiles have scales, not mammals, okay? So a mammal has scales on its body? That is incorrect. That's not true, right? Mammals don't have scales. Mammals have hair. And if they have a lot of hair, we say it's fur. Okay, so number one is false. Let's move on to number two. All animals have smooth skin. Remember we talked about smooth. It's flat and no rough edges, right? Smooth. Human beings have smooth skin, especially on the face, right? If I'm not growing a beard, if I don't have hair, it's smooth, right? So all animals have smooth skin. But we saw a picture before in this lesson, didn't we? We saw a picture of an alligator or a crocodile, and that animal did not have smooth skin. That animal had rough skin, right? So this isn't true. Not all animals have smooth skin. This is also false, right? It's not true. Some animals have rough skin, not smooth. Okay, let's move on to number three. People have hair on their bodies. Is that true? Oh, yes. Thank goodness I still have my hair. Okay, so I'm a person. I have hair, not just on my head, but also on my arms, right? On my legs too. But people have hair on their bodies. That is true. We all have hair. Everybody has hair. Even if you say a bald man, oh, he doesn't have any hair. Yeah, he still has hair. He can grow hair on his chin. He probably has hair on his arms. He might have hair on his chest, right? So all people have hair on their bodies. That is true. Okay, well, that wraps it up for right now. Let's take a short break. Okay, now it's time to go over the reading for this lesson. The reading here, we're talking, of course, about body parts of animals. Let's begin with the reading. The first sentence is, animals have many different kinds of bodies and skins. So that again, that's our topic sentence. That tells us what this reading is going to be about. In this reading, we are going to read about different kinds of bodies, actually body parts, and a little bit about the skins of different animals. Okay, let's begin. Of course, we're starting with the bird, right? We're starting with the bird again. A bird has many feathers on its body. So we talked about feathers before, right? Feathers, birds don't have hair, birds have feathers, right? Feathers help the bird to fly. Feathers keep the bird warm. It, when we see it, of course, we're talking about a bird. We don't have to say a bird, a bird, a bird at the beginning of every sentence. We can use it as a pronoun to refer back to a bird. A bird has many feathers on its body. It, the bird, has 2 wings, right, and a beak, right? So 2 wings and a beak, those are also parts of a bird's body. Okay, moving on, we can see more details about the wings and about the beak. First of all, the wings help the bird to fly. So what do the wings do? The wings help the bird to fly. The beak, what does the beak do? What is it? It is the hard part of a bird's mouth, right? We don't have beaks, we have soft mouths, right? Birds have beaks, a special part of the bird, a unique feature of the bird. What does the bird use the beak to do? A bird uses its beak to feed, to get food, right? When we eat, right? When animals eat, they are feeding, okay? A bird uses its beak to feed, to get food. Many animals, we're moving away from birds, we're talking about many animals in general. Many animals breathe using lungs. So most animals breathe using their lungs. Most animals on land, in the air like us, we use our lungs to breathe. A fish, however, a fish breathes using gills on the side of its head or its body, right? Side of its head, you could also say the side of its body. Before we said head, but you could also say body because a fish, its head is kind of connected to the body. So a fish has gills, mammals have lungs, okay? Okay, continuing on, here we have some sentences about fur and hair and skin. Here the first sentence is, some animals have very smooth skin. Smooth means not rough, right? It feels good to the touch. If you rub it, right, there's no rough or hard parts of it. It's all very smooth. Some animals have very smooth skin. People have smooth skin, especially babies, right? They have really smooth skin. A frog has very smooth skin. So if you touch a frog, ugh, right? That's kind of gross. But if you touch a frog, it's very smooth skin. It's a little wet too, right? Ugh. But a frog will have very smooth skin. There's not a lot of hair on a frog, right? All mammals have hair on their bodies. So all mammals, every mammal has hair on their bodies. All mammals have hair on their bodies. Dogs are mammals. People are mammals. Dogs have hair. Of course, dogs have a lot more hair than people, right? And when we talk about animals like dogs and bears and rabbits that have a lot of fur, we say some animals have fur on their bodies. So if they have a lot of hair, we say it's fur. Remember, don't say that people have fur, right? We can say people have a lot of hair on their head, but we don't call it fur. Okay? Don't say, wow, you have a lot of fur on your head. No, that's 너무 이상해, right? We say you have a lot of hair on your head. Now, it's true people will have hair on their bodies, their arms or their legs. That's very common. Some people have more hair than other people, true, but we still just say it's hair. Do not call it fur. Fur is only on animals. Some animals have fur on their bodies. Not all animals, some animals. And when we talk about people, we say people have a lot of hair on their head. Sometimes people have hair on their arms and their legs as well. Okay, moving on. Okay, let's go over the reading. Okay, what we're doing is we're talking about the main idea and the details. What was the main idea? The main idea was in the topic sentence. Animals have different kinds of bodies and skins. That is the main idea. That's what this passage is about. When we have a topic sentence like this, we know that we're going to hear some details about the topic sentence. The topic sentence is talking about different kinds of bodies, different kinds of skins. Now we're going to hear details about those things. So what's the first detail? If we look at this chart here, right? This chart is to fill in the details. We have to fill in the blanks. Most of the blanks are over here in this category. This category shows the body part, right? But one of the questions, the blank is over here in the description. What are those body parts used for? So body parts and use. Okay? First of all, A. We don't know the body part, so we have to look over to the use. What is it used for? These help the birds to fly. So what helps a bird to fly through the air? If we take a look, we have our words down here, our word choices. Beak, gills, wings, breathe, and hair. So what helps a bird to fly? If you guessed wings down here, you would be correct. Okay, so wings help a bird to fly. Down here we have B, we don't know the body part. So what is the use? A bird uses this to feed. So what does a bird use? What part of its body does it use to get food? We talked about this a lot, right? We said it's hard and it's pointed. What part of the body of a bird helps it to feed? If you guessed beak down here, you would be correct. A bird uses its beak to feed, to get food. Next one, let's look at the use. All mammals have this on their bodies. All mammals have it on their bodies. It keeps them warm, right? So what is it? What of these words here? If you guessed hair over here, that would be correct. All mammals have hair, this, on their bodies. For the next one, we have the body part. So we need to figure out what is the use, right? The body part is lungs, right? What am I doing? I am using my lungs to beep. I'm using my lungs, of course, to breathe, right? I'm doing it all the time, even as I'm talking to you. As you're studying, you're using your lungs to breathe. Okay, finally, E, the last one. What is the body part? We don't know, so we have to look at the use. Fish, oh, it's a part of a fish. Fish breathe using these. Okay, we just talked about we're using our lungs to breathe, but fish don't use lungs to breathe. What do they use? They use gills. We talked about that, right? Fish have gills on the side of their head or the side of their bodies to breathe. Okay, so that fills in our chart. We can see the different body parts and we can see what those body parts are used for. Okay, it's a good review of the reading. Okay, let's move on. Now we're going to go over comprehension questions. We have different questions here. Number one, we need to fill in the blank. We have three choices for the blank, A, B, and C. So, what is this? What is the sentence? Many animals beep using lungs. So we're looking for some kind of verb here, right? We're using, we need a verb because this is what they use their lungs to do. So, do animals, well, first of all, gills. Gills, is that a verb? many animals' gills? That doesn't make any sense. Gills is a noun, right? So that grammatically, if we look at it from a purely grammatical sense, doesn't fit, right? We need a verb here, not a noun. Be is a verb. Eat, to eat. That's a verb. See is a verb. Breathe. So we have to choose between these two. So many animals eat using their lungs. Do you use your lungs to eat? Don't do that. If you get food in your lungs, that's very dangerous. You choke, right? So that's not the correct answer. Many animals breathe using their lungs. So that's the correct answer. C is the correct answer. Don't eat with your lungs. That's very dangerous, right? You should breathe using your lungs. Okay, number 2. A bird uses its beak. What does a bird use its beak to do? We just talked about this, right? Remember, the beak is the bird's mouth. What do we use our mouths to do? We could also think about that. We're looking for a verb here. All 3 choices are verbs: to feed, to fly, to breathe. So what does a bird use its beak to do? A is our answer, of course. A bird uses a beak to feed. We talked about that. A bird doesn't fly with its beak. That's silly. And a bird uses its beak to breathe. You can maybe make a case for that, but it's not a very good case, right? If the bird doesn't open its beak, it can't breathe, but the bird uses its lungs to breathe. So the best answer here is a bird uses its beak to feed, to get food. That is the most obvious answer. That's the correct answer. So that does it for these 2 questions here. Let's move on to the next 2. The first one, number 3, people are mammals and have hair. Yep, people, we are mammals. We have hair. And then we have a comma. So we have A, B, and C. We see which on 2 of these. So which refers back to hair. So A and C will say something about the hair. B is and. So that's another detail about people. Okay, so let's take a look. People are mammals and have hair. Hair which is mostly on their head. Okay, so which, of course, refers back to hair. Yes, people are animals and have hair. The hair is mostly on our heads, and that is true. If you look at people, where is most of your hair? It's on your head. You carry it around on the top of your head. So A is the correct answer, right? Let's just look at B and C for practice. People are mammals and have hair, and they breathe air using gills? No, there are no fish people walking around with gills on the side of their neck, right? So this is not true. B is not true. C, and have hair, again, which refers back to hair. People are mammals and have hair, which helps them to eat and fly. That would be very interesting, wouldn't it? Hair, if your hair could help you fly, that would be great. You know, we could fly around. But that's obviously very silly. That is not correct. Okay, so our true answer is A. Moving on to number 4. Some animals have fur on their bodies, but, okay, but means we're going to see something opposite or see something that's contrary to the first part. Some animals have fur on their bodies. It's true, but A, some animals have gills on their bodies like birds. Is that true? No, it's not true. Animals don't have gills. Fish have gills. Well, fish are animals, but some animals have fur on their bodies, but some animals have gills on their bodies like birds. Like birds, that's the key right there. Do birds have gills? So if you say like birds, okay, that's incorrect. Birds do not have gills. No, they do not have gills. So that's incorrect. Some animals have fur on their bodies, that's true, but all animals have hair on their head. Do all animals have hair on their head? Have you ever seen a shark swimming around with a head of hair? That would be really strange, wouldn't it? So that is not true. All animals have hair on their head? No, that's not true. We don't see sharks or birds flying around with a head of hair on the top of their head. People have hair on their heads. Dogs have hair on their heads, but not all animals. Not all animals, so we can just X that out. Not all animals have hair on their head. That leaves us with C. Some animals have fur on their bodies, but some animals have smooth skin like frogs. The key, of course, here is some. Not all, but some. And that's true. Frogs have smooth skin. People have smooth skin. Dogs have smooth skin. But not all animals, right? Alligators we took a look at, they don't have smooth skin. So C is true, and that is the correct answer, right? So some animals have fur on their bodies, but some animals have smooth skin like frogs. Okay. Let's take a look at a chart here. I'll explain this chart to you. This is kind of a review for the different body parts of animals and what they do. Over here we can see these two pictures go together. We have fish here and we have something over here. So what are these on the fish again? Do you remember? These of course are gills, right? So we can just draw that in, gills. And these of course are lungs. Or lung or lungs, because 1, 2, there are 2 lungs, okay? So what are they used for? Gills help a fish breathe, lungs help other animals like mammals to breathe, okay? So gills and lungs. Let's look down here. We have a dog here, we have the circle around this part of the dog, and we have an owl, a bird here, we have the circle around here. So what are these again? These of course would be legs. Oops, what did I can't erase legs, sorry about that. And these of course would be, oh, come on, okay, wings. Well, it's a wing, you have 2 wings, right? 2 legs, 2 wings. Actually, it's 4 legs, right? But the circle is around 2, so we say legs. I'm sorry about that, that's supposed to be an S. Okay, but wing and wing. So what do the legs and the wing help, or wings help a bird to do? These help these animals move around, okay? So, wings and legs. Okay, now over here we have a couple of pictures that go together. Of course, we have the circle here, the circle here, and the circle here. These, of course, are ears, right? This, of course, is a nose. And this, of course, is, well, we only see 1 eye, but of course, animals have 2 eyes. 1, 2, but eye. So what do ears, nose, and eyes do for an animal? Of course, these organs help an animal to sense things, to figure out what is in the world around them, to help them sense things. Okay, finally, we have this, well, not finally yet, almost there, but we have this picture here. This is a bird, of course, and this is a part of a bird. What part of the bird is that? That, of course, is a beak. And what does a bird use their beak to do? Sorry, that's a B-E-A-K, beak. A bird uses its beak to feed, to get food. Okay, and also to carry. We saw that on the slide before. To carry food. Maybe mama bird is bringing food to her baby bird. Finally, our last picture over here, we see a squirrel. This is a squirrel, right? And what is this part of the squirrel and most other animals? We can call that fur. A squirrel has a lot of hair, right? Dogs have a lot of hair. Gorillas have a lot of hair. We call it fur. What does fur do? Fur keeps an animal warm, okay? Animals, of course, don't have clothes. They can't put on a coat if it gets cold, so hopefully they have a lot of fur to keep them warm. Okay, well that's a review of the body parts of animals. Very interesting to look at different animals, look at their different body parts, figure out what are they used for? What do animals use these body parts for? Animals are fascinating. There's so many different kinds of animals and they do so many different and unique kinds of things, so they have lots of different body parts. Okay, well that wraps it up for this lesson. I hope you've learned a lot as always. We'll see you again next time. Take care, everybody.